Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Ketchadori.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode here on Yeukai Business Show. I'm thrilled today to be joined on the show by Elinor Moshe, who is an ambitious, driven thought leader and a dedicated mentor in the construction industry. Her passion to guide, inspire, and direct future leaders and industry professionals to the construction career lead to her founding the successful platform, The Construction Coach. Thanks for joining us again, Elinor.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. It's very early. We live in such a great time. It's late here in UK and it's very early over there in Australia.
It's time? The wonder of the internet.
What time is it there now?
It's 5 a.m.
Amazing. You see, you get started very early. I find business owners are very good at things like that. Wow.
Yes.
Now, for those who haven't come across your work, Elinor, would you just give us a bit of background, how you got started and how you got to where you are today?
Of course. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with your audience. So I founded my business, The Construction Coach, just over a year ago in May last year. And it started first when I asked the universe a better question of how can I reach more people? Because when you ask better questions in any context, you are engaging the parts of your thinking associated with delivering better solutions and better results. And this is fundamentally the entrepreneurial mind. You're constantly looking for solutions to highly complex problems. So fast forward a few months later, the universe downloaded the Construction Coach into me. And we live in a time when we are not short of ideas or resources, but there is a shortage of execution and people being dedicated enough to give it legs, to follow through, and to create something from that. So I only started my business as a blog because sometimes, when you start, you adopt the thinking of the masses and you think small. But just over 1.5 years on, it's grown into a private mentoring service. I run masterminds. I have sold out events, obviously pre-COVID, and I cannot wait to get back into delivering that for the community. I have an industry-leading podcast, and I'm also just about to release my first book, The Constructing Your Career.
Incredible. And one of the things that I love about you, you are named one of the top 100 women in construction and you are featured in many speaking gigs. Tell us about that.
Definitely. Look, speaking is one of the things that I love doing the most. Communication in terms of writing and podcasting and delivering online daily content is what I love, and it is a fundamental requirement to having a thought leadership practice. So just over a year ago as well, I started working with my mentor, Ron Malhotra, who is my thought leadership mentor and someone who has absolutely been so successful in that space and is a very successful self-made entrepreneur himself. And when you start the thought leadership journey, the first thing that you do is you build your brand about who you are. And we do live in the social age. People connect with who the person is. So especially in a space as construction, when there aren't many thought leaders and there's no one like me doing what I do, that of course attracts a lot of features and a lot of speaking opportunities. But first of all, that comes by putting out videos on LinkedIn. It first of all comes out by having done speaking events, and I've done that for many years, lecturing at Melbourne University and being at industry events. So I already got started with that years before I went on the thought leadership journey, because you are constantly putting yourself out there, you are engaging within the community, and you're building a personal brand. So I'm very glad that I started when I started, to give myself that little bit of a runway into the thought leadership journey. But speaking on stage, it's an absolute pleasure and privilege because you get the chance to create impact to your audience. When you're speaking, it's not about me. Of course, I love it and I enjoy it, and it just gives me a lot of energy, but it is never about me. It's what the audience needs and how can I make sure that they get the most value from their time. And what always fascinates me is when you speak, you end up speaking from a place really deep within you and you don't remember what you say. But I've had people come to me and say, I remember what you said 6 months ago, and that just means the world to me.
Absolutely. It's the fastest way to make change or make the world a better place because you truly help people right where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now let's talk about thought leadership for those who are not familiar with the whole concept and how you got started in that.
So thought leadership is a really unique form of entrepreneurship, and I am so thankful that the universe led me towards this model because whilst I always had the intention to start a business and explore the business world, I was never interested in a conventional bricks and mortar business. I was never really drawn towards any network marketing or affiliate marketing. I had no desire to design a product and sell the product. I always knew that what was really important to me was my impact and stepping into a leadership role myself. And of course, leadership doesn't matter where you are in your career. Leadership, you inhabit that space based on the individual that you are. It's nothing to do with a job title or you will only be a leader if you are an executive, nothing like that. So I did have this itch and ambition, and it was when I met Ron who showed me this very unique model. And thought leadership is the ability to create impact, influence, and income through businesses that are an extension of your personal brand. Right. It allows professionals and executives to be in the startup stage and the seed stage of their business, and you can very easily, it takes a lot of work and around a year to 2 years to scale to a 250K in revenue business. And the thought leadership is a great pathway for, I'll give you 7 key reasons, okay?
Yeah,
so
let's go
the
for
first
it.
The first is thought leadership is a business based around your passion, your purpose, and your expertise. So the thought leadership model first requires you to figure out what is your passion, your purpose, and your expertise. And when you figure that out, that in itself has so much weight and authority because some people go their whole life not figuring out what that is and what they want to actually do with this life. So you're immediately engaging the thinking part of your brain. The second reason is that your business tasks are focused on relationship building, which I love doing. It's focused on influencing community building and creation. And when I speak about creation, it's not creation in the conventional artistic sense. It's creation in terms of solutions to problems in your industry and also content, because content creation is an essential part of having a thought leadership business, because our fundamental duty as thought leaders is to get other people to think differently. We challenge conventional worldview, conventional paradigms, conventional beliefs of thinking, because you would know, how has thinking of the masses actually served anyone? It hasn't.
No.
Look where it's got us.
No.
It's not working. So the world needs thought leaders. What we also get to do is we get to talk about the problems and the solutions that we feel strongly about. And when you talk about something that you feel strongly about, there is an emotional connection with your work. So when you have a strong emotional connection with your work, you're obviously charging it with high energy, and you are becoming energetically aligned to your business and the impact and the influence and the income that you want to be making. So you are becoming a match for your business. And when you are emotionally charged, think about the outcomes that you can get. Now, of course, it's not always highs. The highs are high, but the lows are really low. There is obviously no success in business without experiencing failures, and they are so necessary. But with the thought leadership practice, you have total flexibility. You can work anytime from anywhere with anyone. Time zones are not a barrier. You can attract clients from anywhere in the world because of the universal appeal. Reason number 5 is you get to choose who you work with. When you have a product-based business, you don't choose your customers choose you. But in a thought leadership model, you get to be very selective with who you wish to work with. I only love working with people who are ambitious. I'm very ambitious. I have high achievement orientation. So it is important to me that I work with people that have obviously not the same amount of drive, but people that have drive, people that have determination. You won't work with someone who, if you don't want to, someone who's struggling. Why do you want to work with someone who is struggling, for example? So you can really hone down on your target market, not based on demographics, but based on psychographics. The 6th reason why thought leadership is a great pathway is the world is your market. It's
Indeed.
because of global connections and the internet, and I touched on that before. You have the ability, because of amazing free social platforms such as LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and TikTok, if that's your thing, to bring people into your world that, based on conventional business models, you would never get to experience. If you have an accounting firm in the suburbs, your target market is really based on a demographic range and people within a similar industry potentially or whatnot. You don't have global accounting firms if you are a small business, for example. So the world is literally a playground in a thought leadership model. And this may be the best part, and one of my favorite things about thought leadership is it is such a lean operation. You need your expertise, which you generate in here. You need passion, which you generate in here. You need relentlessness, because this is a very long-term game. And the people who are successful in it, they've been around for 10 years. They've been around for 5 years. They don't quit after 1 year. It takes a lot of vision. And this is why someone who is a visionary entrepreneur, where we live in the future, it's perfect for us. But it's really a business model where first you have the desire to add value. This is what we constantly do. We add immense amount of free value. We do that via our content. Our content is free. Our podcasts are free. Our articles are free. Our vlogs are free. So we are constantly looking to add value in many different arenas. It's also based on a high level of creativity. We can generate anything, whether that's a book, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a TV series, whether that's a program. We can continue to be creative in many different ways. Now, you tie in all those things with a Wi-Fi connection, an online payment system, your personal brand, and world-class marketing. You have a powerful thought leadership practice.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And the beautiful thing about this is anyone can be part of it, can learn this whole process. Tell us of some of the stories maybe you've experienced, maybe your own personal journey of how people who have adopted this way of doing life have truly have carved their own way and make a huge difference.
I can definitely only speak from experience. So when I first started my business, you look at what, online coaches are doing and whatnot. So before I started on the thought leadership journey and before I had Ron in my life, I wanted to do a webinar, and I could not sell. I sold 4 spaces to a webinar at $7.95. That's negligible. That's not even worth being in business for. It costs more to run Zoom. 1 year later, not even 1 year later, I sold out a full day workshop for $127 for 20 people, just like that, with absolute ease. I went from not being able to sell anything online. I sold out a full day workshop. I sold out a full day I sold out a networking event just under my own name, not an association, nothing like that. Just me and LinkedIn and Instagram and a mailing list. I sold out a networking event. And that's just one example. There's lots of other intangible aspects, such as the messages that you get when people, they write to you and they speak in such depth, and how much you have impacted them, and how much, one post really touched them and moved them. And because of that, they're now doing things differently. They're taking different actions. They're taking different steps towards achieving what they want. I don't know how you even quantify that, because you've changed the trajectory of someone. I was also, in terms of speaking, which is a really important part of my thought leadership practice. So I was on a panel event with 3 CEOs of leading architecture and construction firms. And I've just started. You don't often see people under 30 being on a panel event with, other CEOs and executives. And the best part was that after that speaking engagement, I had people lining up to sign on to mentoring with me. They just said, be my mentor. I want to work with you. And that was just like that, because of the way that we speak, because of the way, speaking is a big part of the thought leadership training. And we're very conscious of what we say, how we say it, and why we say it. There's, speaking is part of our personal brand. So that was such a high energy morning, because it was surreal. It was a surreal moment for me, because it was one of the first speaking engagements where I personally truly inhabited and embodied the thought leadership space, because, my personal brand was on par. I was in total congruency. How I spoke was very distinct, not in the execution part, but in the thinking part, because people came up and said, I never thought of that before. And as a thought leader, that is the best aspect of, that is the best type of feedback you can get. But I also launched my podcast in March, and I launched my podcast after the personal brand, after establishing myself as an authority. The podcast is an external element, and within 3-4 months of launch, I launched a podcast where there was nothing like this in the market before. I'm on 13K downloads in a short amount of time.
Wow.
So for a podcast that there was no audience there before, there was nothing out there like this. It was a completely new podcast and new concept. To have that much, downloads is just another positive consequence of the thought leadership journey. And of course, the last thing, which, I am releasing my first book.
Beautiful.
into constructing your career. This is
awesome.
Also another opportunity of being a thought leader, because you get to be an author. You get to be anything that you want to attach your name to. So, I could go on and on about the benefits. I mean, they're just the external ones, but, the ones that have mattered the most in terms of growth is the internal growth, the level of consciousness, the thinking that you are able to generate. And I am an introvert by nature, and thinking is one of my favorite activities. So it's an opportunity to really direct your thinking to make it quite strategic to achieve impact, influence, and income.
It's amazing. I know exactly what you're talking about. When you experience it, sometimes you can't explain or articulate it, but you just know that you're making a huge contribution. And that feeling of making contribution, changing someone's life, even just one moment, is amazing. It's the value that you feel is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, for those who want to get started on this journey, you've walked past this, what would you say to them? How can they go about doing this?
You definitely need a mentor. Thought leadership is both an art and a science. And the program that I did, which I also mentor in now, there is nothing out there like this in the world. No one has been able to put together the program like Ron Malhotra. And, I know this because of the success that he has had. And he shows you, different ways of approaching thought leadership, which give you that edge. So what I have achieved in the last 12 months alone, if I had gone about this by myself, I never would have figured this all out, because what he teaches is not publicly available by any means. To the level of accountability, obviously when you go with a mentor, you actually do what you need to do. Accountability is a huge part of mentoring. And I wouldn't have achieved what I had in the last 12 months, as I said, in 10 years. Not even. To think that I have a book, a podcast, and a business in 12 months is phenomenal. And to have established myself as an authority, as an expert in construction management careers, because niching is really important when you start out, it would have taken me 10 years. I wouldn't even have figured it out, because you don't know what you don't know. Absolutely. So if you want to be on the thought leadership journey, you have to work with a mentor who has the results and outcomes that you also wish to achieve for your life. And thought leadership doesn't have to be for people who want to commercialize. You can still establish yourself as a thought leader without commercializing. But of course, we're in the business of business. We want to commercialize, and that is definitely one of the outcomes.
Incredible. Well, you touched on something very important, which you've done very well, to market your business on LinkedIn. Let's dive very briefly on how you use LinkedIn in growing your business, attracting the right type of clients in your business.
I love LinkedIn. I am so fascinated that we live in a time when a global market is available at your fingertips for free. That's what LinkedIn is. It is the most powerful networking event and collaboration platform that I come across. And all the opportunities, I dare say 90% are from LinkedIn, because Instagram I see it as a branding tool. I don't commercialize from Instagram. I commercialize from LinkedIn. Like, that is my main lead generation. And when you think of, when you think of construction, what do I want people to think? I want them to think Elinor Moshe. How do I get people to think that? By showing up every single day. Every single day, it is a duty of a thought leader to put out content. And this is part of being omnipresent, because if you are not seen, how do you want people to know what your message is? How do you want people to know what it is that you do? How do you expect to shift people thinking and worldviews and paradigms if you do not put out thought-provoking content on LinkedIn? Where do people actually find you if you do not actually put yourself out there? But where people falter with putting themselves out there, because when you put yourself out there as a thought leader, you open yourself up to a high level of criticism and ridicule. And when you put yourself out there based on who you are, not your business message, then you're going to attract a lot of haters, a lot of keyboard warriors, a lot of trolls who will purposely go out of their way to get in your way. But that is just a reflection of them. But the issue is, when people start putting themselves out there, they stop because of the criticism. They can't handle the vitriol that comes with putting yourself online, and it just goes hand in hand. You can't have raving fans on one hand without having haters on the other. Because if everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. We're not in the business of getting people to like us. I don't care if people don't like me. They can respect me. They don't have to like me. So there is a lot of mindset work that's first involved with, putting yourself out there and understanding that not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone will like your content. It takes a long time for your content to actually start gaining traction. I can still post something, and if I post something at the wrong time of day, it doesn't get seen. You post something with the right photo and the right message, you can get over 30,000 views. So it takes time to really work with the algorithm, but the algorithm is just fantastic in terms of its organic reach. there aren't many platforms other than TikTok, which I don't use, that can offer such a broad organic reach. But the point is of content, it's value to your audience. And if not thought leaders to add more value to our audience than anyone else, then who? Because we're solving people's problems. So when they have that problem, when they want to do something about it, obviously the first person that they think of is the expert. It's the authority. And content generation is only 50% of the lead generation. Obviously, putting yourself out there and having congruency in your personal brand that is based around who you are, that's only half the work. It's not that you put out content and all of a sudden you commercialize. There are different systems and processes, but it allows you to actually generate leads quite frequently. And then, of course, you have the conversion part. But being on LinkedIn, it's getting messages, it's getting leads, it's getting people who they've seen you online for, 9 months. And even if they don't want to buy from you, they recommend, or they say, they see that you are so consistent. And I've had people that have been following me for less than a week and they sign up to a mastermind. I've had people who have say, I've been following you for 9 months and I'm ready now. Great, I'm here. But the thing with LinkedIn is you have to be able to play the long-term game, because you don't get results online in a month. No one really sees you. It takes a lot of time. And for example, before I started the Thought Leadership Journey, I had around 3,500 connections on LinkedIn. I only started delivering content every day on LinkedIn around October, November. And I've just ticked over 13K followers on social platforms, which is, for me, that's a huge number because of the niche that I'm in, because of the industry that I am in, and the opportunities that have been afforded through that is, it's the speaking opportunities, it's the commercial opportunities, it's selling at events, it's being able to market a podcast, etc. Because what I've done, I've built a community of people around the people that I want, the psychographics that I want, the people that are attracted to me. They're not the lazy criticizers, for example. I repel them. My confidence alone pushes them away. I have people that are really drawn to my messaging and what I stand for and what I deliver. So, I love LinkedIn. There is not a day that goes by when I'm not on LinkedIn, because I purely love it. And, as I said before, the opportunity that it affords is phenomenal. And if anyone is not on LinkedIn, if their business is not on LinkedIn, if they don't have a personal brand on LinkedIn, there is only a very small window of opportunity to do so, because large corporations are going to realize the brilliance of this platform and its organic reach. And once they start pumping millions, of course, Corona has potentially pushed that out, but once they start pumping millions into this platform, it will become a bit harder, like Facebook, to have the organic reach. So the time is absolutely now to start the thought leadership journey on LinkedIn. It is a world of opportunity.
Indeed. Elena, you mentioned something about messaging. What sort of messaging do you, on a regular basis, put out to your followers?
So, for example, when people that aren't thought leaders and that don't have congruency, you'll find that they will talk about this and then they will talk about that, and then they change from being an accountant to a money mindset coach, and then they go back to helping people commercialize on LinkedIn. They keep on changing because they don't have a clue what it is that they're doing, quite frankly. They keep on changing because they're going with the trends. They don't understand the game. They're not able to talk about themselves. They talk about everything else that other people are talking about. Their only ability is to put out content based on thinking that is already in existence. So that content and that messaging doesn't work because someone like me, I can see right through it. So I'm never going to buy from them. So you're not doing a good job for your business if you're changing your messaging with the trends. When I speak about messaging, I'm very clear on my different verticals of messaging. I know that as a thought leader, we have to talk about ourselves, not about ourselves. Hey, look at me. It's how can I add value to other people when I share a story about myself, when I share elements about myself. So, one, we talk about ourselves, and the only way you can actually talk about yourself is when you truly understand yourself on a macro and a micro level. And that is also part of the thought leadership journey. There is a wonderful art and a science to really knowing yourself. And people say, oh, I know myself, but then they come to the face of a decision and there's blockers. They don't actually know themselves. That's just one example. There's also messaging in the business. So I know specifically what my business does. What is the value that I deliver? So everything that I talk about, that I write about, falls under the messaging. As what I do is I guide, inspire, and direct industry professionals and future leaders to achieve high remuneration, faster progression, and more recognition in their career. So everything that I talk about falls under this umbrella. So it's constantly cohesive. I'm not all of a sudden, one day I'm not talking about careers in construction. The next day I'm not talking about something completely, baseball. I'm not talking about something that's trending. It is consistent. It's constantly different, but it is consistent. And that is when you know your messaging and what you're really trying to get people to achieve. And for me, it's, what is the greatest project that you will ever get to work on? It's yourself. So I do that via talking about the life experiences, the mindset, the career development, so on and so forth. And people are sometimes, oh, don't you ever run out of content? Well, no, you can't, because you never run out of thinking. So it is a messaging that's tied with a very unique personal brand that is the core essence of a thought leader.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. We're loving hearing you talk, but we're coming to an end of our time here. For those who wants to learn more of this way of thinking and way of living, how can they get in touch with you, Elinor?
I would love for the audience to connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Elinor Moshe _. And of course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn and be part of the thought leadership journey. It's Elinor Moshe. And if you feel that this path is for you, well, you can go to elinormoshe.com and get in touch with me there.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You've got a lot of knowledge there that you freely share with our audience. We truly appreciate that. Now, for maybe the last thoughts, is there anything else you want to share with business owners that I have not asked you about, but you feel very strongly that this will be very helpful?
We live in the social age. We live in the digital age. And if you are thinking of starting a business, even if it is a product-based business, you have to flip the model. You don't approach the market saying, here is my product, buy it. You say, here I am, and then you show people the product, because people connect to people. That is how you open the floodgates in business, and that is how you're able to create the impact and income and influence that you are really seeking in your business and your life.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Once again, Elinor, thank you for being here on this show. And for you, if you got a lot of value, you know where to find Elinor. And you can just click the button around here. We'll be taken straight to her website. And with that said, we look forward to catching up with you again very, very soon.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.